Well, Poems Love, how's it going? How's it going? It's your girl, and we made it back. Whoop, skirting around the corner on two wheels, but we are here. Hello out there. How you guys doing for another week? As you can see, as we promised, we're bringing you a wonderful jam-packed episode this evening. You know your girl, Poems Up out there. Please do me a favor and share the link before we get started. You know the routine. Those of you that want to get in on the conversation, go to www.healthybcandme.org and get the link and come on in and have a conversation with these bosses. Boy, you're going to be enlightened this evening. And as we always say, we love our angel donors. And if you wanted to give right away, Cash App is palms up the number 4MI. You know our work. You know the money will go to use and it's appreciated. What's up out there? How you guys doing? Yeah, I know. It's already January the 9th. Well, we got some sheroes in the community, and I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to introduce you to them. Now, before we get started, because we have a lot to cover this evening, I want to give a wonderful shout out and a heartfelt thumbs up to our citizens of Marbury Plaza out there. Marbury Plaza, we're with you and we hear you and we see you. Keep fighting, keep standing up. Guys, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, as we always have the parade in the Deer City, we are going to be joining Marbury Plaza. The Palm Show will, along with some of the other citizens. Hello, Wingate, Palms Up. Hello, Woodbury Village and Woodland. We see you, Chesapeake, out there. All right, all right. Those are all the wonderful communities that Palms Up Show and the Healthy DCME Leadership Organization helping to advocate for justice in their housing, guys. And it is hard to step up and speak up. So we support these wonderful sisters, and there are presidents and vice presidents of their tenant associations that are pulling together. So if you yourself out there are living in a community and you're just feeling stressed, we understand from a mental wellness standpoint, if housing isn't stabilized, then how in the world can anything else be stable in your living? We want you to know that it's okay to speak out, and there are others that are doing just that. Palms up, guys out there. We appreciate you. All right, without any further ado, what I want to introduce you to a beautiful soul and ask her if she will unmute. Miss Janae Singletary is a life coach, and Miss Janae is coming to the program as a result of my creative director, Mr. Nate Wheeler. And Nate reached out and said, "Hey, Rhonda, Janae is a powerhouse, got a testimony, and we would love to bring her to the platform." So, Janae, welcome, and how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. We've got three guests this evening, and we want to make sure that we give everybody their just and their flowers. So, would you help us understand what it is that you do and why it is that you do it, and anything else that you'd like for us to understand this evening?
Well, my name again is Janae Singletary, and as you've already stated, I am a life coach. Actually, your newest upcoming life coach. I have been at it since I'm gonna say about 6 months now. It's been a journey, uphill journey for me, something I've been enjoying. Um, and You said what was the other question? You said what I'm doing.
You said that you were a life coach. You were confirming that. How is it that it came to be that you are a life coach? And what is it about being a life coach that you'd like us to understand that makes it rewarding or not?
Well, so as my mission as a life coach, I will say my mission and my goal is basically to encourage and influence women specifically to discover themselves and pretty much understand what it is that they desire and their goals and anything that would make them happy or reach that happiest point in their life and pretty much keep them happy. What brought me here was pretty much my own mental health, going through depression and anxiety myself, and really not understanding myself, not understanding what my desires were. After going through therapy and having a life coach of my own, I discovered what path I wanted to take. And here I am. I've discovered that the biggest goal or the biggest lesson in whatever I went through was teaching someone else. that's like the biggest, accomplishment for me, is teaching someone else to get the same level of happiness and joy that I have reached. So that is literally my mission, and that's how I got here.
That's so awesome. It's so interesting that you are able to demonstrate the positivity of recognizing your own mental challenges and adjustments needing to be made. And then also understanding that finding your purpose, which is really what having a coach is about. Someone to help you kind of guide through, the rough times or even just the times when you.
Well, it froze.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times
Yeah,
a lot of people don't trust easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But with this weather, I should have given a disclaimer up front. I'm trying to move us through this before it has the ability to disconnect us since we're all in place. So thank you.
See, it already passed through Georgia, so it's reaching you guys now.
Well, we're blessed that we even are getting this far with it, with so much rain that's falling today. So thank you, guys. Thank you, audience. I'm going to ask you to be patient with us. We want to hear from all of these beautiful women. Janae, thank you for your patience. Talk to me a little bit about in your process. What I was going to say was that trust is so huge. We know that, as we're often speaking and preaching, mental health has layers, and it's about the personal journey. And a lot of times, if you're not able to find that good relationship in a therapist or in a doctor, sometimes you're not able to really, delve into all of the realities about yourself that it takes to be able to find that stability or that healthy outcome. For you, how were you able, you think, to trust and then turn around and put yourself in a position where people have to trust you and open up?
So the biggest thing for me, well, the first person I had to trust was my therapist. And honestly, reaching out to her and her just, listening to my story and not judging me, that was like the biggest thing. Yeah. And then once I started discovering what journey I wanted to take, I started thinking about, because it's like, okay, I want to become a life coach, but how? I didn't know the process. I didn't know anything. So I had to think back, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, there's this lady that I follow on YouTube. She's a life coach herself, and I had went back, started watching her videos. And when she said in her video that the biggest thing for her, because she was she was not certified she just got certified, and she's been a life coach for about 15 years now. And so for all that time, she wasn't certified. And she said that the biggest lesson for her, the biggest portray of her abilities as a life coach was living the life that she is preaching. So, she teaches us those things. So my biggest thing that I try to portray on my social media, just, in my everyday life towards my children and everything, is just to be this person that I'm preaching to everybody else. Be this person that that you want to be, not the person I want you to be, the person that you want to be. That's the person that I am, so so, I wound up trusting my life coach because of that. And so for me, I expect the ones that do listen to me and love the energy that I give will wind up trusting me the same, to want to listen to me some more and invest in my programs that I'm creating.
Well, we're going to get to that. I appreciate that. It's just a lot of times, we come on and we just assume that folks are going to buy in, and then we start talking about how to get in touch and how to do this. First, it's important to get to know who you are and whether or not you might be someone, or if you, and not that you can figure that out in a 5 or 15-minute exchange, but at least for most people, it opens the door. And what I've learned coming from a background in sales before all of this community work that we do is that people generally do business with people they like and respect. And you know about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and delve in. How long have you been doing life coach? How long have you been a life coach, I should say?
So I've literally just been in this for about 6 months. I actually started off, like I said, within this coaching program, just going and following behind everything that she's guided me to do. And then I started off by doing green juice and journal videos. So every morning, Monday through Friday, I post a journal topic because I've discovered that journaling is really what kind of helped me discover myself, just writing things down. So I try to encourage people every morning to, reach into one of my journal topics and, just, think about it at least, even if they don't write it. So I started off with that, and then I started developing more of, you know, my vision for what I wanted my programs, what my coaching to be about, and then, you know, my highlight programs and things like that. So now I'm at this point where I'm creating the program and just ready to start bringing in people and having them apply and things like that. I just did, you know, what you were just saying about letting people get to know you. So before today, my mission was to actually put out my first YouTube video, which I did today. And in the video, it's just an introduction of myself. I really wanted people to know who I am and why I'm doing this, you know, and know a little bit about my story. I'm very open and honest about, you know, where I come from and how I got here. So I'm hoping that at least my story can motivate somebody itself. So
I'm sure that it will. And since we're here, it's a perfect segue. Where would people go to see that video?
I actually can put the link in the comments.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure we on our Palms Up page, we always archive the show so that folks that miss it, we have our loyal viewers Palms Up. We can make sure that they can have that link so that they'll know where to go and see your video. So guys, if you are not able to see the video until later, or if not get the link, you can get it on the Palms Up page for healthydcme.org. Now, you say you've been doing it for about 6 months. We generally set goals, right? So for you, what would be a short-term goal, long-term goal as you move forward in your own mental wellness and the reality of helping others and what that may bring on?
So I actually, it's funny that you asked me that question because I just went off the list of my 3 biggest goals of this year to my mother this morning.
Awesome.
I was talking to her about it. I was like, she was like, so what are you trying to do? And I'm like, well, Mom, honestly, my biggest goal within this time frame, I would say within the next few months, is to get my first initial program out there. Also get some short programs out there, some small guides and things like that for people, you know, because my goal isn't to soak up everybody's money. My goal is really to help somebody. So I want to get videos, more videos, things like that out. I also am creating my own guided journal book. So I really want people to be able to have something in their hands or on the computer, whichever one you choose, and be able to like journal and guide yourself through the way that I did, you know, because within my journey, I didn't only journal, I did art. I did little things that kind of distracted my mind and helped me develop some of my passions and my visions. So I really want to be able to put that out there. And then the third thing is I would like to join some type of group of women where I'm able to, you know, kind of connect with women and also allow women to connect with me. I've kind of pretty much been in my shell in my home, kind of growing pretty much, you know. So for the past year and a half, as I've been climbing this hill, you know, to just healthiness, mental health, I've been in my home, you know, raising my kids and just kind of minding my business. And also I'm a cake artist, so I've been at home caking and things like that.
I saw that. That's pretty awesome. You touched on so much there. I love that you journal. I love that that's a part of the process. One of the things that's one of the keys to the programs across the board that we have, because a lot of times from a mental wellness standpoint, it helps to be able to get it out. And sometimes folks that can't say it can definitely write it. You also talked about your cake making. You just recently talked about that. But more importantly, you were talking about your projects that are coming up. You are Janae Singletary on Facebook, Jenne Singletary. Are you on any other social media platforms?
Yes, ma'am, and they all are the same. So you have, you know, Janae Singletary on Facebook, you have Janae Singletary on TikTok, and now, excuse me, on YouTube, you have Janae Singletary as well, at Janae Singletary at all of them. On Instagram, I am still Jenny T 1020, but I'll go ahead and put that all in the
put that in the chat as well.
Yeah, right. So that it'll be easy for people to just kind of click on it and go ahead and go from there. I'd love for people to come and just join the discussion, you know, really just join the discussion, because my community is growing and I'm loving it. And I just, you know.
I like that. I like that. Now, before we let you get out of here, we're gonna definitely make sure to get the links posted. But help us understand, you know, to some of our generation, this is a new thing, a life coach, you know, kind of right along the lines of a personal trainer, all these, new things that we have to keep these human guides intact. Is that a businesswoman or an old school understanding, or just not someone that's found their way to the understanding of the need for a life coach? What would you say tonight to our audience or folks in our audiences to help them to understand why?
Why a life coach? A life coach is, did it freeze again?
I think so. Why?
Right.
We're hanging on the why, Janae.
I'm gonna wait for her to come back in before I say the why.
Don't you start confessing to things you haven't done.
Right. Oh man, it's the weather. Oh, that DC weather. I heard it's crazy.
Time's up. It goes right along with these allergies. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Oh, good. I'm sorry, guys. I tell you, I have truly no control. Will you talk to us a little bit about why the need for a life coach for folks that it may not resonate with?
You know what's funny is I did not think that you were going to ask me that question, but I thought about that answer.
Awesome. See how God is.
No, but it's like, it is a legitimate question because, a lot of people are like, well, I have a therapist, so what do I need a life coach for? Or a lot of people don't even want to get therapy or aren't even interested. But the whole purpose of a life coach is for that. Like, just like a coach, I thought about my favorite track star, Allison Felix. She's like amazing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen her run, but that lady is absolutely amazing. And in order for her to get to as good as she was, she had to have a coach to push her, to teach her special ways and different tricks and different things to get her to the amazing point that she was. And then she wound up having a baby. And guess what? She had to climb back up that ladder so that she can win her last big Olympic race. You know what I'm saying? So all of that was needed with a coach. She couldn't have done it by herself. And so I with saying that, the same thing goes for like a life coach, especially when it comes to something like mental health, because, you can have a therapist and your therapist is there to tell you what is wrong with you. I'm not here to tell you what's wrong with you. That's something that is important for you to know and, go to therapy for. But as far as actually being guided into, developing from it, because there's one thing to have a label like depression or anxiety, but how do you come from it? How do you get from, do you want to take medicine or do you want to do it on your own? Well, how would you do it on your own? That is what a life coach, my life coaching would be about, is guiding someone to get to that point of, to me, true happiness and joy. So
I think that's beautiful, and you've explained that perfectly well. I forget the name of the Olympic skier who she's a downhill skier, and like you said, she had a life event that caused her to have to climb back through. She had a couple of failed. She had medaled before, I think bronze medal, and I'm so apologetic that I don't have her name. I didn't think I would bring it up this evening. But what stood with me was how she talked about having to go back out there and medal and being really afraid, and a lot of the things, finding out that it was more psychological than it was physical. She said once her medical doctor had cleared her physically, she realized that there was something that was holding her back. And so I make that point to my viewers out there to understand that there are things in our lives that we want to accomplish, and sometimes we're just not realizing what it is that's holding us back or why we're not achieving it. And the reality is that sometimes it might take the understanding of a life coach to help you be able to accomplish that. Janae Singletary is our very beautiful guest this evening and life coach. And a little bit of a secret there, Janae and I worked together many years back at Wyndham Vacation Resorts over in Alexandria, Virginia. So it's such a wonder to see her again. She's so beautiful and smart.
Thank you. I just thank you for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. We like to bring folks from all walks of life, and it's such a rainy day, and it was so easy just, with all the fluid and things building up, it was so easy just to back and say maybe not, but no, every day that God blesses us to be on this earth, to be able to spread out a good message, to give out a good message, I am happy to be a part of it, and I definitely am excited to introduce you not only to our audience, but to these beautiful guests that we're going to be hearing from shortly. Before we let Janae get out of here, I wanted to open it up to Reverend Hope Gibbs and Reverend Wendy Hamilton to make sure that these professional, powerful women didn't have any engagement that they wanted to share or ask Janae about before we let Janae go this evening? Hope,
Well, first,
Wendy?
I want to congratulate Janae
Thank you.
on that. That's amazing. And the fact that you've set 3 goals and it's only what, January 9th?
Well, you'd be surprised. I literally have halfway achieved almost all 3 of them. It's kind of crazy.
It's
Wow.
awesome. So you're very inspiring, and I wish you all the best. And I feel like 2024 is going to be a wonderful year for you and the people you serve. And
Thank
God
you.
bless you for that.
Thank you.
Oh,
You know what's
so-
crazy is I literally said that this year, I named this year my year of results. That is this year. That is what it's
I
going to
like
be. And I'm looking forward to every result that God has come in my way. Okay.
I like that. I like that. And before we shift gears, palms up to you. And we know here that our palms up, that we give God credit and palms up is kudos, or, in some cultures and generations, they say words. To us, we say palms up. At the end of the day, it's just about rolling our sleeves up and making sure that we unify with others around us, being a community outreach program. So I want to thank you and send you a hearty-felt palms up and let you know that we appreciate you and we see your wonderful glow.
That's what I wanted to say, if you don't mind, Sister Rhonda. You are you are literally emanating light, um, and it really is. I mean, maybe it's the lighting in your room.
Well, I've heard
But
this. You're not the first person that's ever said this. So
It is enhancing such a light in you that continues to even brighten as you talk. Like
Oh,
as
thank
you
you.
talk a little bit more about what brought you here and telling your path to
Passion.
actually arriving
Yeah.
at this place of deciding to become a life coach. And so my only words to you are keep shining, sis.
Oh,
Keep
thank
shining.
you.
You're doing it.
Thank you so much.
Very
Hey,
good.
Jeanette, thumbs up to you. And please don't be a stranger over here. I know that there's a story behind your journey. So you're 6 months in, so maybe a little bit more. Come back and circle back, and we'll find out about the growth and where you are. And please keep us in mind for any, as we will you as well, for any collaborations that we might be able to support you in your efforts as you continue to grow. I'd love to be able to greet your circle of women. I've been stomping all over DC talking about this, where our daughters of the city at.
Well, you can actually meet some of my circle. I forgot to mention, I do have a group that I have been building. I have over 700 women that have joined this group so far, and I'm just amazed at how this has happened. But it's called Black Girls Do Journal. And within this group, I just kind of build the discussion especially within the Black community, within women, because what they say, we're so angry, the statistics behind us, and us not really being able to get out our feelings and what's really going on in our head. So within this group, I'm so excited because these women come in here and they answer these questions, and it's just so much joy. So that's another thing. So you can definitely come over and see that.
I definitely will be keeping an eye on you, and I will definitely come and speak to women. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please join me again. Palms up, Janae. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank
Good luck
you.
with everything. Most importantly, kudos to you for being responsible about your mental health and building for others. Janae Singletary is how you reach our guests, and you can reach her on Facebook and many of the other social media platforms in the same manner. JENNE, Janae Singletary. Thumbs up, Janae.
Thank you.
Palms up out there. We started the show a little different, a little rush. We didn't say that. February 29th, we're rallying the Congress for our dialysis folks and outreach. www.mitv.fyi. Yes. We are connected to all kinds of things because we want you to know that it's about community always and every day. And we want you to understand that we're still talking about VOACC's gun violence, spiritual gun violence colloquium at the before the end of the hour. But right now, I want to introduce you to Reverend Wendy Hamilton. Yay. And no, there is no No, we don't know. Let me not say that. We might have a connection down there on that.
You right. You right.
I know I didn't come up with it, and my granddad probably didn't either. But anyway, thumbs up to you, Wendy. And how's it going? And welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my sister, maybe from another mother. How are you doing tonight? Hello to all my
Fine.
hello to all the wonderful guests who are here tonight. I really appreciate this opportunity to come on your wonderful platform and talk a little bit about empowerment of women and things
Absolutely.
that we can do as women to empower each
Yes.
other. Yes.
I'm so excited to have you on, that you took time out, because you're doing so much and you're so humble. Wendy is working with our children. I know that she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. But Wendy is actually running for shadow senator for DC, and I really want her to talk to us about that. The Phones Up show is about education, and a lot of times we don't get involved or get engaged because we don't understand. And the fact that she's stopping by the Phones Up platform and taking time, I would love for you, Wendy, if you would walk us through that journey that brought you to our dear city, that kept as you where you are, and anything you want us to know along the way. Welcome, Queen.
Thank you so much, and I'll give you all the condensed version,
Exactly.
to allow some time. But yes, and you see me trying to show my shirt. Yes, I am Wendy Hamilton, and
We want to make sure we have all that information.
let me get that out of the way first. Wendy Hamilton, RevWendyForSenate.com.
That's right. That's right.
And I'll put that in the chat. Oh, she got my card. That's how you do it. But yeah, so long story short story long, beautiful story. I'm originally from the great state of Ohio. And I was there minding my business and going through life, and then ultimately decided to come to Washington, D.C. to attend the great Howard University. Came here on scholarship, early childhood education major, fell in love with Washington, D.C., and been here ever since. So what I call D.C. is my adult home, because I grew up here. I got here when I was 17 years old, and wide-eyed and naive. Country as all get out, coming into this big city, and got out the car like, howdy. They looked at me like, oh, we got a live one here, folks. But anyway.
Bama.
a red Bama, right? Look. Anyway. So I decided to make DC, my home. Now, I'm an education major. I've got communications in my background, but education has always, been what had driven me. And so I've worked in Head Start, and I've worked with families, in advocacy. Well, somewhere along the way, when you suffer some losses and different things that happen in your life, you start to take a pause and evaluate, figure out, what's my life meaning? What my mother passed away. I found out I was pregnant like a couple of months after she passed away. The father of my child decided he didn't want to be a father. So, all of these things converged. And I said, well, what am I going to do? And I had a lot of religious cousins, right? They said, well, try Jesus. I said, look, I'll try anything at this point. And so that's essentially
I love that.
What led me.
Really a palms up moment.
I'm just being real. So that's what led me to my life of faith, to salvation. And so that's been sort of the track of my life. It's education, it's communication, it's public service, and it's ministry. And I found that all of those converge together in opportunities for me to participate in social justice advocacy. Looking out for the least of these, taking care of the poor and the sick and the downtrodden, those that don't have, making sure that I'm reaching back to lift up. And, that's just a part of my passion. That's just a part of my DNA. And I say that because to find myself running for office, that was not on my bingo life card.
I understand.
I was busy, like I said, teaching and doing my my communications thing, but ultimately I've always had an interest in like current events and what's happening in the city. So I started kind of helping out local campaigns and feeling like there was a way for me. Public services is a form of ministry, Because when you think about it, for those who are Christian who might be listening, Jesus was a servant, was a public servant. Yes, there was a divine, aspect of who Jesus was, but then there was a very human, very, humble, serving side, and there was also a side that didn't put up with injustice, and that there was a Jesus that flipped over tables when he went into temples and
Burned
saw
whole towns.
I follow him because
Yeah.
I might come in meek and mild and how's everybody doing and praise the Lord. But if I see somebody being treated right, I'm flipping the table. Amen. So so that's kind of what I feel like politics, does in many ways. And over the last few years, I have just gotten this sense that there is a need, particularly here in Washington and in on the Congress and national level, for a moral renaissance.
Oh, wow. There's that word moral.
Something's missing. And genuine people who are actually there to serve, servant leaders who are there. And I believe that's who God has called me to be. And so that has ultimately led me to not only helping out with other local campaigns, but 2 years ago deciding to run for office myself. And so once someone had asked me, well, are you going to run as Reverend Wendy? Some people have issues around faith. And I said, I can't separate who I am, from what I do. And so if I'm going to run authentically, that is the way that I'm going to run. So about 2 years ago, I ran for our U.S. House role here in D.C. We have a delegate role
Is that
in the House of Representatives.
Eleanor Norton's role?
That would be, well, now see, here you go, because a lot of people know Eleanor Holmes Norton, and I have all due respect for Delegate Norton. But like I said to people, I wasn't running against Eleanor. I was running for DC. I was running for our city. She's done a wonderful job, but at some point, I believed it was time for us to start to think about moving forward and what we needed to do. And for those who aren't familiar with the statehood issue and movement, DC is not a state yet. So that's a deep passion of mine, because I feel like that's an injustice that we have 700,000 residents here who don't have a voice in Congress. We have more population than 2 other states, Wyoming and Vermont, and yet we have no representation in Congress. Eleanor Holmes Norton is there. She can write bills, she can speak from the floor, but she can't even vote on the bills she writes.
Right. That's
So,
right.
You have to help me understand why we, as the nation's capital and tax-paying citizens paying higher taxes than 33 other states, yet we have to submit our budget to Congress to get it approved. No, that's not going to work. That sounds like injustice to me. That's in a majority Black or brown city, there seems to be some reason why you all don't want to do right by us. So statehood is a racial justice issue. It's a voting rights issue. There's a lot of things tied up in why we haven't been made a state yet. And so the shadow city role that I am currently running for is just that. It's the answer to the lack of statehood that we have. We've got House position, which is Eleanor, and then we established 2 Senate seats, because when we become a state, we will have 2 Senate seats. But until we have statehood, they're considered shadow roles, which means they're locally elected. But our one primary job is to advocate for statehood so that we can come out of the shadow and actually assume the senator role. So for me,
Wow.
it's just an opportunity to continue to fight against and raise my voice and bring my moral fortitude and my righteous indignation to this injustice that continues on the Hill as it pertains to the residents of Washington, D.C.
Well, you know what? Palms up to you, Queen, just to be able to articulate that as well as you did, in order that others might understand why you would passionately be drawn in that direction. I thank you for that. And in a minute, we're going to help folks understand how they can get in touch with you, how they can donate to your campaign. Because one of the things that's interesting is that the district has the the Fair Elections program, where they are encouraging candidates to get smaller donations from citizens, but you are not able to participate in that. Do I understand that to be
Yeah, so
correct?
that is correct. DC implemented in 2020 what's known as a fair elections matching program. So what that
Mhm.
means is residents can give up to $50 and the city will match it times 5. So
Mhm.
if someone gives a $50 donation, it becomes a $250 donation. And the
Mm.
reason why they created that particular program was so that um, more regular people like you and I could run for office, because it takes a lot of money, and it also takes a lot of energy, and this show is also about mental health and being mindful about the stressors that are involved in
Absolutely.
in politics. Let me tell you, it's not for the faint of heart running for office. But the fair elections program was established to say, okay, you may not have thousands of dollars set aside to invest in a campaign, but if you can get 50 of your friends to donate $50 to you, then suddenly you've got $100,000, because
Mm.
they're going to
Mm.
multiply it by
Gotcha.
5. Here's the
Absolutely.
thing,
Absolutely.
that only applies to the local mayor, city
Mhm.
council. It does not apply to the
The
federal
federal.
roles of
Wow.
senator or house
Wow.
delegate. So we got to
Wow.
get it from the mud, like
Look,
like the regular mud. So
I like
so
that. Get it from the mud.
yeah, so anyone that would like to, provide a donation, $1, $10, but that also demonstrates the power of the people. This truly is a grassroots funded campaign. That
Okay.
this I don't accept big money from corporations and things like. Well, nobody's going to own me anyway. I am my own woman. I belong to God. So you could throw all kinds of money at me if you want to, and think that somehow it's going to have some influence and your feelings are going to get real hurt. Amen. So
I'm
at
glad you touched on that because a lot of folks
Mhm.
have walked away from the table because they're just concerned that people are, able to be compromised is the word we like to use, or the corruption tends to find them. And I get that as well. And we'll talk a little bit more, but will you speak to two things? One, your website I see is revwendy4senate.com. Is that where they can go to donate and learn more about you? And
Absolutely. That's where there's a big donate button, right underneath my big head when you open up the website. and and beneath that is all of the information. What is a shadow senator? What is DC statehood? It's very important, because like I said, education is my background. And so that's my passion as well, is that I want to be able to teach people. I want to be able to demonstrate and emulate a different way that we can do politics, where we can actually sit down and sup together and break bread and get problems solved on people's behalf. But until you do right by us in DC, you're not even giving us an invitation to the table. You're making decisions about what we want to eat for us, and that's not going to fly, because
yeah.
that's not what the Constitution said. That's not who we are as America. America started based on the notion of taxation without representation. That was what the Boston Tea Party was about. It was up there fired up and pouring tea because they were paying taxes, yet they had no representation. And here we are many years beyond that, and we still have a state in our union that is experiencing the same kind of racial injustice and voter, disenfranchisement. So that's what I'm running to fight for, because that is a moral issue for me.
It's interesting. I would imagine that I'm going to ask the question that many people may be asking that are watching. When it comes to statehood, we rallied, and Eleanor Norton, Congresswoman Eleanor Norton, forgive me, rallied us around the idea that, we're going to get it this time. We felt closer than we ever had, as some of the language that was out there. And we even got the flags and, the shirts and the stars, and, we were all set for it, but obviously it still
Yeah.
can happen. And there are
Yeah.
many that don't think that it will happen. Will you kind of summarize why it is that you keep the candle burning for that, and why you believe it's something that could be achieved? And what are the things you think that is holding us back, thus far from having achieved it? In your own
Well,
opinion, of course.
I absolutely think that statehood can be achieved, and we've been fighting for it now for many years. We did achieve home rule, which allowed in 1991, which at least gave us a vote in the presidency, and on the federal level. The ultimate reason why we haven't achieved statehood, in my opinion, is because the Senate, as you all know, is made up of each state has 2 senators, right? And the balance of power shifts depending upon which party has more senators, in 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 office. So right now, the Democrats control the Senate, but only by 1 seat. We have a 51 to 49, and Vice President Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. If something comes up where it needs to be a tiebreaker. If we were to get 2 more Democratic Senate seats, which is what they believe would happen if we give DC statehood, well, then guess what? The Democrats take control of the Senate, and they got to check for the Republicans and ask them for nothing, because over the years, conversations where we want to pass certain things and there's compromises that are made on both sides. Well, the nature of our politics now is we're on our side and we're on our side. And you can't even get any reasonable folks in the middle to sit down and say, okay, for the sake of what we're working to do here, can we put our politics aside and vote together, and have a bipartisan decision? But as you can see, in the last few years, even common sense stuff, they don't seem to be able to come together and vote on. So ultimately, one party or another is going to have to get a majority of the seats probably for them to get anything done. And the Republicans have been in control of the Senate, and they have always said, I don't care if y'all pass a statehood bill in the House, when it comes to the Senate, it's dead on arrival, because we are not going to let DC get 2 more senators and take control and have a majority in the Senate. So from a mechanical standpoint, that's why statehood hasn't happened. On the other side, how will it happen and can it happen? Because people say that too, like, well, will it ever happen? We've been having all these rallies and things like that. I do believe that, and that's why I continue to fight for it, because as I said earlier, it's like a voting rights issue. What I think is missing, and what will help get it further along and closer to the finish line, is more involvement from the voices of the citizens of DC. We've got a lot of organizations and advocates. Whenever we have these rallies, I was going to all of them, but I was looking around, I kept seeing the same folks. And I'm like, where people at? Anytime you're trying to make big change like this, you have to have a buy-in and a consensus of the people, not just the usual suspect. The government doesn't sit back and say, you know what? Statehood is the right thing to do. We should just go ahead and just give it. They didn't do that with voting rights. They didn't do that with civil rights. People had to get in the street, and we had to march, and we had to almost down there shame them into doing the right thing. And so for me, I feel like it's not until we get more DC residents along with the advocates and the activists and the organizations out there in the streets demanding that Congress do the right thing by us. That's, I believe, what it's going to take to get it ultimately over that finish line. That, and if we just so happen to get a Democratic majority, well, then it's a done deal. but that's the easy way. I think we're going to have to fight for it. It's going to be a combination of both. But I do think it's possible. That's why I'm running.
Well, palms up, and I thank you guys. If you are just tuning in, this is Reverend Wendy Hamilton, candidate for DC Shadow Senator, and I want you Senate seat. And I wanted you to speak a little bit more, and I let it go longer than probably others might want it to because of politics. It is important that we understand that we have a well-rounded approach to the change that's needed on the ground in our city. And one of the things that I know, just like the word gentrification, statehood is being thrown around. And a lot of people are not that familiar with the conversation surrounding it. And I knew that you would satisfy us and help us to understand, one, from a passionate standpoint, but two, most importantly, from a necessary standpoint. We must understand these conversations we're going to really impact change. But talking about change and some of the local issues, you mentioned that you have a passion for education. And we're getting ready to segue to talk to Reverend Hope Gibbs, who formerly helped VOACC, Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolina, for those of you who don't know. And we're going to talk to Reverend Hope about the upcoming spiritual colloquium on gun violence. And of course, we've been talking about our youth and wanting to make certain that we have enough resources for youth. Will you help us understand your work with the youth or with, education? And then, what you see us needing to do, and then, just kind of conversation that way, from your opinion, of course.
Segueing, and I, from a political standpoint, that's another reason why I want to be up there so that I can impact and speak to the policies that are being talked about and argued about. Because what I'm finding, even when it comes to educational policy, a lot of the people who are setting policy have not set foot in a school. And so having worked and continuing to work, so my day job, I'm a part-time pastor right now, part-time transitional pastor at Metropolitan Community Church here in DC, helping one of our churches to go through a transitional period. So I'm part-time pastoring, but my day job is an attendance and truancy counselor in DC public schools. So, and that's ministry too, by the way. Everything. I'm just letting you know that's an extension of ministry. All ministry doesn't happen behind a pulpit. It happens out. And so I'm literally working every day with families whose students are truant, who are on the margins, who are struggling because of obstacles, who are needing to withdraw from school and relocate because of domestic violence issue, mental health issues, lots of death happening now. I've buried 4 of my kids, just through gun violence. We just had an anniversary, one of my babies, 13 years old, that was, shot and killed last year. And so that's why I say this is ministry for me. And this is really, this work and being in the families is what endeared me to DC, because when you're working in a school, you get everything. You learn from the staff to the teachers to the families. You have to learn the dynamics of what's happening, with our kids.
That's right.
Yeah, and so like I said, when I see people sitting up, and this ties into statehood, but just to give people an example, you've got senators like Ted Cruz. Y'all all heard of that dude, right? From Texas, anyway. He submitted a bill 2 years ago he wanted to ban CRT, was it? Critical race theory. Remember they were going off all about critical race theory? He introduced a bill in Congress to ban critical race theory teaching in DC public schools. Now, first of all, sir, critical race theory isn't taught on the secondary or elementary, education levels. But also, sir, you are the senator from Texas. Why are you worried about what is being taught or not taught in DC public schools?
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there. Let it go as long as I could, but I tell you, we could do this all night. Palms out.
Sorry.
The whole point. No, you don't have to apologize. And you can imagine my position as the host of a wonderful, program. Mental health transcends all households and understandings, and so I love that we have these conversations that allows us to keep the juices flowing, right? Because so quiet. I don't understand why in a town where people living with what they're living with crime being what it is, and my heart goes out to the businesses. I'm a fellow small businesswoman that have to pack up and leave because they just feel like we don't have a proper balance of things, and this is affecting someone's livelihood. And so we all have the ability, or should have the ability, to have a standard in our living. Right. And so with these things that you talk about, they're so important. And obviously, banning something I feel personally about in terms of the critical race theory, you feel like there are other motivations there. But the reality is that we want to be able to make sure that as a society, that we learn how to agree to disagree, and that just as he thought that he was justified in doing that, that there are parents, activists, folks doctors, yourself,
Right.
school officials, medical professional, everyone else is rallying to say, hey, look here, this is why this is no good. One of the things that I'm constantly looking at from a mental health standpoint is that, I saw who was it, Huffington Post said that racial discrimination is a mental health crisis, right? And so when you put it in that perspective, it kind of forces people to have a conversation on a different level, because you just have to ask yourself in 2024, what would be the motivation behind those types of decisions and things? But more importantly, we've got to motivate our citizens to come out and have more conversations.
Exactly right.
Quiet. We're behind doors. We're looking at it on the 5 o'clock news, which, this carjacking, this gun violence. Hey, Reverend Wendy Hamilton, running for DC Shadow Senator. We could keep this conversation going on and on. I appreciate you for continuing to lead the charge. I look forward to joining you on the ground, because we can't have enough folks that are advocating for change in our dear city when we see the things that are happening as they are. Thank you for your work with our children, especially with truancy, right? And we're hoping that over there at Metropolitan Community Church of Washington, that you all are going to be able to help us pull off something wonderful on March the 9th and this year. I understand you are a member of Metropolitan, and it was wonderful to link you with Chaplain Jules. I thank you for coming to the platform. Is there, could you please help us understand any social media for you, or any special message you think we need to understand? And more importantly, when is your election?
Well, that was the last thing I was going to say when you asked about the schools and I was talking about the Ted Cruz situation. Is I want to be a voice. I think my work in the schools and on the ground and with DC is the authentic voice that I can take to the table and push back on some of these decisions that are being made. You can't make a decision about the school. You haven't set foot in there. I have. Let me tell you who you're trying to make decisions on behalf of. Let me tell you their story. Maybe you can be more compassionate about, the way we set policy for schools when you talk to people who've actually had some experience in there. So that's my hope. You can find me at RevWendyForSenate.com. That's where I am housed on my website. And then I am on all social media, as you have to be these days when you're running for a campaign, at Rev Wendy Hamilton. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter or X or whatever it is this week. TikTok, they got me dancing on TikTok.
And you're doing well too, they tell me.
And all of those are Rev Wendy Hamilton. So please, follow me, spread the word, share, repost, all of those things. Help a sister out. Like I said, hopefully my heart has come through. I love DC. I feel like this is partly, a call on my life in this moment. The primary is June the 4th. So, but mail-in ballots, we are automatic mail-in ballot here in DC. So they're going to mail everybody a ballot April 29th. And so you can either fill out your mail-in ballot or wait until June 4th. Some folks like, I ain't trusting the mail. I need to put my ballot in the box, so that'll be on
awesome.
June
and folks that want to volunteer, should they come in through your Rev Wendy for Senate?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes, absolutely.
Great. Hey guys, join me in giving a heartfelt palms up to Rev Wendy for Senate. Hey, she's a powerhouse, guys. I hope you have enjoyed her as much as I have. Hey, Reverend Wendy, we're going to continue to follow your campaign, and you and I will be talking, and I'll be keeping in touch. But we wish you a wonderful and a hearty campaign, and we love your heart did come through to answer your question. So keep it right where you got it. We're looking for authentic representations down there. And so I'm hoping that folks will be encouraged to reach out to you and ask you some questions and get involved in your campaign so that we have more soldiers on the street. Guys, I want you to know that it's okay to be emotional about things, but take those emotions and channel it and do something as boss as Reverend Wendy did, and put your money where your mouth is and come out here and represent our town, represent our families, represent our children. Palms up to you, Reverend Wendy, and thank you so much for taking time out to come to the platform. Again, that's Rev Wendy, R-E-V, Wendy, W-E-N-D-Y, for Senate, SENATE.com, Rev Wendy for Senate.com. Check her out, and we're going to archive this so you'll be able to go back to our Palms Up page and reach her in the future. Hey, Rev Wendy, I hope you'll hang out and while we talk to and introduce our Rev Hope Gibbs this evening.
Yes, ma'am. I'm right here, ready to hear.
Awesome. And before we usher Rev Hope Gibbs in officially, I want to give the ladies an opportunity. Danae and Hope, did you guys have any questions of our beautiful Rev Wendy as it relates to anything that we just spoke about? Her work with the children, her run for Senate, or just her love of DC coming here from Ohio?
Yes, your passion is palpable, Wendy.
Oh, thank you.
It's just lovely to see, and I love it that, of course, you're working with children. As a mother of 3 adult children, I applaud you for that. And yes, anything you can do to build our children's self-esteem, their knowledge of the world. And, that's where our future lies. And we can't forget that. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I
I was-
appreciate it.
Thumbs up from a Virginia resident.
Right.
All right, Virginia.
All
I was
right,
gonna say
Virginia.
somewhat of the same thing. You said that you really love to teach and educate, and that is your background. And you literally just educated me. Okay, I was sitting here learning, like, okay. So thank you for that.
You're just like
Absolutely.
Coach Danae.
Wait, what was that? I missed it.
Love it. Don't stop. I told you we'd have a night of bosses, and don't you make a move. I want you to know that Reverend Hope Gibbs has come to the platform to help us talk again this week about our wonderful, wonderful community partnership with the Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolinas. And I want to correct myself. This mouth of mine, if you haven't been following it, you're going to know it. I just be going, and I think last week I said they were over 160 years, and I went back and heard the repeat. I said, oh God, they are over 125 years strong in the community and still going. And I want you to know that they have wonderful, wonderful ministers and reverends and chaplains and support personnel that are involved. And we've been rolling out an episode every week of Palm Rock Show, making sure to introduce you to all the wonderful folks that are involved with the organization. You can imagine over 125 years of existing in the community and helping with matters of mental health and helping with our youth programs and some of the wonderful work that Volunteers of America has been doing. This is Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolinas, and would you please join me in giving a hearty welcome and hearty palms up to Reverend Hope Gibbs. Hello, Reverend Hope Gibbs. How are you?
Hello. I don't know how much time we have here.
Oh, we have all the time.
All the time in the world.
Okay. Yes.
Well,
We have a wonderful, wonderful platform of folks, and I don't want you to get alarmed because the hour has come. We don't really do 3 guests, but we've been doing something special since the Volunteer of America and Chesapeake and Carolina partnership. We are making sure that every week we make room in our platform to talk about their more than thoughts and prayers spiritual colloquium. So our audience is familiar with the fact that you guys will be representing every week on the platform. Talk to us a little bit about your work with the Volunteers of America in Carolinas, and a little bit about the Gun Violence Colloquium that's coming up on March 9th at Metropolitan Community Church of Washington. We've been advertising it every week. You can reach out to Chaplain Jules. She would love to hear from you. 336-419-7579. We're looking for sponsors and corporate partners to be able to help enhance this wonderful free event where they will feed us, they will teach us and talk to us all about strengthening the community, dialogue around this gun violence, fostering unity and awareness, also while offering encouragement and tools for many of the victims of gun violence. So I just want you guys to know that this is the same event that we've been talking to you guys about because we want to bring awareness. And if you have not already set your calendars, please do so. In the meantime, would you please set back and let's listen to the wonderful conversation that we're excited to have with Reverend Hope Gibbs about her work at Volunteers of America, a little bit about her, and talk to us a little bit about the event. Welcome.
Well, Rhonda, I think you pretty much summed up everything. So I'd like
No.
to say good night.
No,
You did a
wanted
great
to let you
job.
off the hook so you wouldn't feel responsible for trying to get it all in.
Yeah,
better
you
than
did.
who
You did
you
great,
are.
and I also put that information, Jules' information, into the chat. And
Awesome.
she's just a spitfire, and she's the one.
Yes.
I had a ministry working with adults with developmental disabilities for many years, and planted a ministry many years ago in Arlington at a facility for seniors with intellectual disabilities and mental health issues. And when COVID hit,
Mhm.
of course, that shut down, because believe it or not, chaplains and ministers aren't considered essential personnel. And that could be at the root of the problem
Ah,
in
yes,
many
yes.
areas of our nation.
Very well point.
So anyway, I was very fortunate to have Jules come into my life, and she is the one who brought me into the colloquium. And I think that, I'd just like to kind of hit on the idea that everybody is coming to this issue of gun violence with their own perspective. And it's based on their own beliefs and their own experiences. And, something really resonated with me from Dr. Ann
Yes, yes.
in
Thumbs up.
an
Dear
episode of
sister.
Palms Up.
Yes.
And what she said is, we all carry a gun, a mental gun, and how and what triggers that to manifest itself varies with each one of us. And, I really got to thinking about that. And we can see now that violence escalates when that mental gun is armed, whether it's a gun or a knife or a car or whatever
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
And, it kind of pounds home that point that it isn't guns that kill, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And
People kill people. Absolutely.
that's something that we've, really been hearing over and over, and I have on your Palms Up shows when this is discussed. One of the things that was mentioned in your June 6, 2023 show is how important it is we keep this open dialogue.
Yes.
And that's really what the colloquium is all about, is keeping that conversation open and bringing in the faith community.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
for so long, they've set back and we've done the thoughts and prayers, but we're not getting the action that's needed.
Absolutely.
I started thinking about Hebrews, Rev Wendy, and let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. And I kind of, it's so funny that was dropped into my heart today, because between Janae and between Wendy and between Rhonda, I've seen all of these women that, you're out there stirring things up. Stirring things up and doing good work. So, kudos to you. Palms up to you.
Yes, yes. And you as well. You
I
as well, Reverend Hope. Because folks don't know, I'm sorry, don't forget what you're going to say. I just want to put this out here. We had a moment before we started, and Reverend Hope had mentioned to me that she was formerly working with VOA. And by the time Wendy had come on, I had her retired. And so Wendy said, well, wait a minute. Is there a retirement program for us, Reverend? And it was so funny because you never think about that. And of course, you're not on retirement, because here you are representing for them, and rightfully so. And so I just wanted to share that you must have a passion for what you do. You must have a passion for what you do, because obviously you're not retired from them.
Oh, well, thank you. That explains why I'm exhausted. But I found this really interesting quote. I think that really goes with the idea behind this spiritual colloquium. And it comes from Christopher Hayes, who's a D. Wilson Moore professor of Old Testament and Ancient Near Eastern Studies at Fuller Theological Seminary. He co-edited this book called God and Guns. Have y'all heard of that?
No, but I'm gonna look it up. I'm in my earmark it.
Rotting Guns. It's called The
Okay.
Bible Against American Gun Culture.
Okay.
But listen to this quote. I would say this to pastors and parishioners. The church, your church, does not have the luxury of pretending that a war is not going on. Silence will not save us.
Absolutely. I love that.
And I
Yes.
get chills whenever I read that because I'm
Yes.
like, it's so easy to sit back and not
Yes.
do anything or say anything. But you know, as soon as it hits our backyard, then
Mhm.
we're up in arms and we want
Absolutely.
something done.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we
And
can't do that. We can't
we
sit
can't.
back. And do that.
We can't. And what you explain is our reactionary approach to the reality that we're burying citizens almost every day, every other day, if not every day. And what you described just seems to be our blueprint for dealing with everything. You know, it's the same argument I feel we can make in our mental health preventativeness, and also from the standpoint of our housing realities and what we're dealing with. So, and I'm so happy, ladies. Let me just talk about the elephant in the room. We look very beautiful this evening. It's not so much that we're bosses in our own respect, up at 7 after 8 p.m. talking about this community stuff and saving lives and being the true hearts that we are. But more importantly, we represent multi-generations and multi-ethnic backgrounds, and the reality that our hearts are still all in the same space and place. And this is what our 2024 community message needs to look like, right? Because we all need to be at the table helping to get this right. We've been living through this gun violence for so long. And Reverend Hope, as you mentioned, we gotta get stirred up, and our communities have always had church at the center. We've always had, you know, our spiritual folks come in and help guide us or help be the compass or provide the foundation. And like you said, you know, maybe because you guys weren't considered essential workers, you know, we've come off the reality of understanding who's needed at the table as we talk about this gun violence and this senseless loss of life. Talk to us a little bit about the idea, because we share well, I'm on the planning committee and I get so excited when I see all of the conversations that come about. Talk to us about some of what you're excited for this colloquium to introduce to the community, and if you would, as if we need to encourage them as to why they should come out, but just a message of call to action, if you would.
Right. Well, I think the most important thing that I want to stress here is the impact that personal testimonies have, that a story has from an authentic story. We are collecting anything that anybody wants to share who has been touched by gun violence. We and you can contact Jules. We actually have a site, and she can send you that link where you can upload. You can take this on your phone. Just pick up your phone, tell your story, and if you have any ideas on what we can do as a united people on diminishing this violence that seems to be just taking over. You know, it's killing our children. And,
Yes.
you know, we talk about the future. What kind of future are we going to have if we kill it off? So it's really important that we hear from you. And I would like to invite anybody and everybody that has been touched by gun violence to please share your story. One of our first stories actually came from a very dear childhood friend of mine who just lost her son-in-law this just a few months ago. And she was very eager and open to say, this has left her daughter with 3 children. And, you know, financially, this is a huge burden on everyone. I just don't think people realize the ripple effect this has when one person, one human being, it's a precious life, is taken away. That ripple effect on the family, on the community, on people outside of the community, the government, it affects everything. So, and honestly, I think Reverend Wendy probably knows more about what that impact is, both personally and professionally. That's correct, right, Wendy?
That's exactly right. It's
Yeah.
personally, professionally, educationally,
Yes.
socially, and psychologically. Yeah, because it plays itself out.
And
in-
one of the things that I really wanted to get through tonight to everyone out there, I did some good research on this, but in a study that was done by Swanson, McGinty, Faisal, and Mays, these researchers reported that media accounts of mass shootings by disturbed individuals galvanize public attention and reinforce popular belief that mental illness often results in violence. Epidemiologic studies show that the large majority of people with serious mental illness are never violent.
Exactly.
However, mental illness is strongly associated with an increased risk of suicide, which accounts for over half of U.S. firearms related fatalities.
Yes.
And this is exactly what happened to my friend. That was what the son-in-law did. Veteran, PTSD, had access to an AK, know the number 47, 45, whatever. And that was that. So I think that's an important thing because I work with adults with intellectual disabilities, and believe me, the sweetest, kindest, most loving, many of them with serious mental health issues, and they are my family. And so I don't want gun violence always associated with people that are struggling with mental health issues. And
Well,
that's me.
I want to say from a political standpoint that's actually a lot of that media wise is intentional, so as not to have to deal with the gun violence conversation. So if we can just say that any gun violence national thing that has happened is tied to a person's mental health, then the real conversations that we need to have about the flow of guns into and how many guns are accessible and things of that nature, and what bans we might need to put in place, that those conversations go away because it's just tucked very neatly underneath the blanket of, it must have been a mental health issue because only people who are experiencing mental health issues commit gun crimes. So.
Right. And Rhonda, if I can, I just want to close with something else that I thought Hayes wrote that was, it's a good closing here for this.
Please do.
But it says, if hope can be found, it lies in the energized activism of those who have mobilized in the face of the violence epidemic and said, this cannot be. In December 2022, the Washington Post reported that 140 volunteers for the anti-gun group Moms Demand Action had won public office in recent months. Now that makes a hopeful statement.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'll close with, Miss Rhonda.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And palms up to you, Reverend Hope Gibbs. I was just visually, as you were saying that closing statement, I was just visually thinking about that. I think that you're right, that it's the activism that's going to help folks to find their voices and help folks to let their walls down and realize it's not by themselves. Guys, it is so important, as Reverend Hope mentioned, that we realize that not all gun violence is just about our youth, and not all gun violence is perpetrated as a result of what we're saying are mental illness realities. We've got to look at root causes, understanding beyond what's happening with these guns going off, because as both of our beautiful said, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And the reality is that when you have families that are struggling in their housing, when you have realities in the politics that don't allow for you to have access or the types of impact that you need to raise your living standards. A lot of times people are living in survival,
Poverty.
things that they should not or would not otherwise do. And so it's so important to look at how all of this would be connected to some of the acts of violence that we're realizing in our communities, so that we can begin to have broader discussions, and so that we can make certain that we understand that everything that we should be doing right now should be to secure a safer, stronger, more foundation for our children, who will inherit all of the decision makings and the realities of what we're doing today. Ladies, I thank you all so very much. I know my palms up audience is like, okay, doing something new this year, but we only got a schedule when it makes sense and when it's available. And it was just awesome to be able to have all of your schedules coincide so that we could present you in this setting. Sometimes we have to show and lead the way for many of our folks out there that get so used to being behind their phones and these computers, and realizing that beyond the virtual understanding, you guys can actually come out from behind those computers and you can get involved on tonight's platform. Imagine that. Just being a part of our mental wellness family and understanding you've been able to meet a shadow senator candidate from DC by way of Ohio who has a passion for our kids. You've been able to hear from Miss beautiful Janae Singletary, who has been brave enough and transparent enough to be able to let you know that 6 months in, she's excited and glowing more than she ever has about understanding and finding her true purpose and being able to deal with her mental wellness so that she can have a better and higher standard of living. And oh, hey, Janae, palms up to you. And then also, of course, our Reverend Hope Gibbs, who came on with all this wisdom, did a wonderful research, letting us understand that this gun violence transitions. It transitions among social, economic, and ethnic borders. Guys, it's time for us to come together as a community. And so, palms up to you, beautiful Reverend Hope Gibbs, for helping us to understand all that we need to understand about coming out on March 9th. I hope that now that you are empowered, encouraged, and motivated, get involved, guys. Palms up. We're going to keep doing the work. We don't think that because the words mental health are on the table that we need to divide as a community. We believe we need to come back together because understanding and education that has to happen so that you can truly understand what's needed to uplift our communities and every household within our communities. Hey guys, it's your girl, and you know how excited I can be. I know I've taken you past the hour, but I would imagine talking about saving lives and getting you this wonderful information so you know that we're out here. The Volunteers of America, Carolinas, and Chesapeake are having a spiritual colloquium. And they want you to understand that if we're going to do something about this gun violence, it has to be about more than just our thoughts and our prayers. Chaplain Jules is the point of contact for any information for folks that want to sponsor, get involved. If you want to know if your organization can be a part of this and how that might happen, please call Chaplain Jules at 336-419-7579. She'd love to hear from you. There's a website, www.voachesapeake.org, and you will be able to find the spiritual colloquium information. It's on March the 9th. It's from 1 to 6 p.m., Metropolitan Community Church of Washington, D.C. And I want you to understand that they're doing prayer vigils. You'll be able to eat. It's free. You'll be able to get some wonderful information. As you heard Reverend Hope say, there is still time for you to be able to tell your testimony, to be able to get your video message in and to attach your family and your loved one's legacy to this beautiful event. Let's let this be the start of something, guys. Let's go into this community and let's all come together and let's make sure we stay there. Let's make sure we embrace one another, and let's look up Reverend Wendy. Don't forget Reverend Wendy for Senate. ReverendWendyForSenate.com. She's looking to hear from you. Guys, I'm bringing these wonderful sheroes out here so that you understand that you all could be getting involved. We can do this together. Palms up. And with that said, ladies, I want to thank you all. And Janae Singletary, she's a life coach. I want you reaching out to her. She's built a community of 700 women already. So if you're someone sitting home and tired of living in isolation and looking for some people to talk to, here we are. Palms up, palms up. Janae Singletary on most virtual platforms is Jenne Singletary. And palms up to all these beautiful queens. Guys, thanks for hanging out with the Palms Up Show. 2024, we told you it'd be different. Guys, please do me a favor and please visit all these beautiful women. Please plan to come out to the gun violence colloquium so that you can meet Reverend Hope Gibbs, and Reverend Wendy will be joining us as well. But let's get involved, Palms Up. And for any further information, please don't hesitate to go to the www.healthydcandme.org website. Go into the Palms Up page for all of the information that you need. Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Bye, Reverend
Y'all have a good night.
Bye bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
good night. Thank you.